Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you again on October 5th, a Wednesday, to talk to you about something I think that's pretty important. And that is the question, in America today, is it allowed to be able to call out a woman of color for saying something that is true? Is it allowed to question or comment on a gay man when he's not being honest? Is that a fair thing? Can we do that in America? Does the First Amendment allow us to call out individuals that are promoting racism, even though their color of skin or their sexual preference is quote unquote protected? Let's talk a little bit about that. But first, we want to mention, if this is the first time that you are seeing our channel, we want to welcome you and thank you for being part of our audience. We want you to know that we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all the social media that the internet overlords will allow to hear what you have to say, because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in your right, no matter what country you come from, to be able to speak about the issues that affect us all. And we hope that every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, from around the world, you will join us to add your voice to the conversation about the issues that are affecting each and every one of us. Now, today's issue is the question about race. It's about sexual preference. It's about the truth and what is being told to you in the news media. Now, this is a big issue. It's a tough issue because it deals with the southern border. It deals with energy and the U.S. economy. It deals with equity and racial harmony in the United States, and whether or not we're getting closer to a second civil war. These are big, huge issues, and we can't answer it all in just one video, although we've been talking about it in multiple videos for many, many years. But today we have a special emphasis. Now, you may recall that we have the JRES break. That's 1-minute short YouTube videos talking about some of the political issues affecting us all. And you may recall that we have the JRES break on this channel with John Restuccia, who often covers many of the issues that affect us. And recently, John Restuccia, the JRES break, have been talking about Kamala Harris, Hurricane Ian, and, of course, the relief that is going on right now to help Americans in Florida and, of course, in Puerto Rico for Hurricane Fiona. In the most recent JRES break, John has addressed Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, who happens to be gay, and Pete Buttigieg trying to protect Kamala Harris for what she said. Now, we'll get to what she said in just a moment, but I want you to hear what John was talking about today.
Restuccia here with the JRES break for you today. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe. It helps the channel. We're close to 1,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing a follow-up story. So Pete Buttigieg decided to comment on what Kamala Harris said when pressed about it. So Pete says, well, it has nothing to do with politics. After Kamala Harris said for hurricane relief, we're going to do it based on equity. Says people are putting politics where it doesn't need to be. And I agree with that. But Kamala made this political with saying it was equity-based instead of helping all relief victims. She made it political. So clearly this is political now because Kamala Harris made it. Understand you have to defend the administration, but you're an idiot if you're saying, well, everyone's just making it political because she made it political first. This is how the Democrats want to play it. They're making a hurricane political. Terrible.
We think John did a great job of nailing the issue in just 1 minute. And it's a very big issue because it has so many components. It's not just that Pete Buttigieg is being dishonest with the American people and the people around the world. It's more than just about Kamala Harris and hurricane relief being segregated, being decided by someone's skin tone rather than their actual need. This is a big issue, and it has so many, and it affects us in so many ways. Now, you may be saying, but what exactly did Kamala Harris say in the first place to bring us here? Because that comment is very hard to find on the internet at this moment. It is being hidden from the majority of Americans, so most people don't know what actually happened. Let's take a look. We're going to go to our Sunday live stream. And in the Sunday live stream, we happen to talk about Kamala Harris and the Hurricane Ian relief. And we had this to say in part. Kamala Harris said, quote, "We have to address this in a way," talking about Hurricane Ian and the relief. "We have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality." You can't do that, by the way. She goes on to say, "But we also need to fight for equity." No, we don't. She goes on to say, "If we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we need to take into account those disparities and do that work." She is saying that in the name of diversity, in the name of equity, that people need to be helped based on the color of their skin. That is not only racist, not only sexist, it is illogical, it is anti-American, and it is point-blank evil. Obviously, we had very strong views about what Kamala Harris had to say. What she is saying, and what she has been clear in saying, as she has been quoted, is that the relief for Hurricane Ian in Florida must be decided by an individual's skin tone, that the priority is not on children, it is not on individuals of need, it isn't even based on someone's economic status, it is in fact based on the color of their skin, which is insulting and dangerous. But where would she get that idea? How is it that Kamala Harris would come up with this concept that the United States, the help coming from FEMA and the federal government to American citizens on American soil, should be decided based on a person's color of skin? That's a huge leap. And how could she come to that decision? Well, the answer is actually pretty obvious. It was told to us on January 20th of 2021. The Biden-Harris administration made it clear with the signing of a pen stroke, an executive order, one of 40 that were done on the first days. Executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. This is by Joe Biden. And in part, it states, and we quote, "Because advancing equity requires a systemic approach to embedding fairness in decision-making processes, executive departments and agencies must recognize and work to redress inequalities in the policies and programs that serve as barriers to equal opportunity. By advancing equity across the federal government, we can create opportunities for the improvement of communities that have been historically underserved, which benefits everyone." So in this statement, an executive order by the Biden administration on January 20th of 2021, Kamala Harris has come up with how we are going to deal with Hurricane Ian. Now let's be clear. When you say that you're going to have equity, that does not mean and cannot mean equality. Equity, by its definition, places one group or one type of people above all others, normally based on politics. That's equity. You are going to give to some more than others because they fit a category, a checkbox that has been politically motivated. Now, you can say that that's something that we should do or shouldn't do in America. We're not going to address that right this second. Let's deal with the fact that the federal government, as of 2021, decided that issues that affect Americans, regardless of what the issue may be, must be decided by the color of skin of that individual and or their sexual preference, their sexual gender, other factors that are inherent in that individual or a choice of that individual rather than the actual priority of need. Now, if you wanted to say, and it would be a great argument, that we should prioritize taking care of children being affected by Hurricane Fiona and Hurricane Ian, I would never dispute that. Would that be equitable? Absolutely. We are prioritizing one group over other groups. Absolutely fair. Let's take care of the children first. I have no problem with that. Again, we're not selecting children based on the color of their skin, their religion, their sexual preference, their sexual gender. None of that. We're saying children, the most incapable of taking care of themselves, the most need being addressed first. Fantastic. That's not what Kamala Harris said. That's not what the Biden and Harris administration has said. That's not what the executive order nor Pete Buttigieg. None of them are addressing that. But it is honest for Kamala Harris, as she said, and we covered on Sunday, to say that the federal government, under executive order from Biden himself, is going to prioritize Americans in need based on the color of their skin and or sexual preference and or gender. Because that's what they have decided. They believe that's more important. So if you have two individuals who both happen to be poor, living in the same community, side by side, and their homes have been destroyed because of Hurricane Fiona or Hurricane Ian, and they both need shelter, food, and they need water. Maybe they have families, maybe they don't, but they're exactly the same individuals next door to each other. One happens to be white, one happens to be black. Matter of fact, well, I had a third house. Again, all the same economics, they're all poor, but the third one happens to be gay, lesbian, LGBTQAI+. They identify as a toaster. I don't know. So you have those three individuals. According to the executive order from the Biden-Harris administration, as correctly defined by Kamala Harris, the federal government will go out and help either the family that is black or otherwise a minority, and or the family that identifies as a toaster, above and beyond the needs of a family that might happen to be white. All of them are poor, all of them in the same neighborhood, neighbors right next door to each other, all having the same exact need. That is racist. That is evil. Because if you said that we were going to prioritize the white family above and beyond the LGBTQAI+, that would be anti-gay. If you said that you were going to prioritize a white family above and beyond the needs of the black family or the minority family, that would be seen as being racist, and that would be evil. If it were men versus women, it would be seen as sexist. So again, going by the definition as proposed by the Biden-Harris administration, Kamala Harris is being honest and correct in saying the policy created by the progressive movement through Joe Biden on January of 2021 is to prioritize individuals based on their skin color, their sexual preference, their religion, their gender, above any other factor. That's evil. That is, by definition, evil. There is no two ways around that. So we know that Kamala Harris is being honest. At least she is being honest. That's the policy that the United States has right now. This is the consequence of the executive orders by the Biden-Harris administration. Whether or not Democrats want to acknowledge that today, because it is embarrassing, it is sexist, it is racist, it is disadvantageous to American citizens, even though they don't want to acknowledge the consequences of what they have done and how it divides Americans, how it separates Americans, how it destroys America fundamentally, they have to. Instead, though, they are trying to distract you. They want you to talk about She-Hulk. They want you to talk about Rings of Power. They want to talk about the Bros movie. They want to talk about anything and everything except the fact that the consequences of what they have done are sexist, racist, divisive, they are dangerous, and they are harming American citizens. And to help, because obviously Kamala Harris got backlash. People have been talking about this and are angry. Even though she is a woman of color, even though she's a woman, we believe, even though we're not biologists, nor is she. But because she is getting backlash, they sent out Pete Buttigieg. Now you have to ask, why Pete Buttigieg? He's the Secretary of Transportation. What does that have to do with FEMA? What does that have to do with hurricane relief? Nothing. Pete Buttigieg is trying to get the people of Florida and across the nation to buy electric vehicles that they can't charge during a hurricane, that they cannot charge up when the power is out. Forget about all the other reasons why it doesn't work. In a natural disaster where there is no power, electric vehicles are the least efficient and effective way to be able to get people to move from place to place. So why are they getting the transportation secretary to speak up and try and defend Kamala Harris? Because Pete Buttigieg is gay. So again, they're stacking on top of each other groups that you are not supposed to be able to challenge. Individuals that are protected because of their sexual preference, protected because of the color of their skin, protected because of the gender that they declare. You can't argue these individuals because, well, that's just not allowed. Even though it's perfectly fine by the First Amendment, even though as elected officials, they are absolutely targets for political commentary and for critique, but you're not supposed to think about that. You're supposed to say, well, he's gay. You can't say anything. You're supposed to say, she's a woman and a woman of color. You can't say anything. That's not what America is about. That's not what our Constitution allows. And let's really think about what Pete Buttigieg said here. To quote, he was on Fox News and Pete Buttigieg said, and this is also something very difficult to find unless you are searching. The rest of the major media do not want to discuss this. But if you do look, you will find he said, and I quote, "I think we all know that some Americans bear the brunt most of all of extreme weather events. And we've got to make sure we're helping everybody based on the need that is there, that it's fair, and that it's equitable." And that's something that I think you see built into the process right now. Let's be clear. What he just said isn't true. Pete Buttigieg is not being honest. Let's break it down. Pete Buttigieg says that we all know that some Americans bear the brunt most of all of extreme weather events. Some Americans? Who? The poor? Yes. Are you talking about different ethnicities? Are you talking about different skin tones? Are you talking about different sexualities? Because if you're breaking it down beyond poor versus those who are not poor, then it's not true. Because nothing else would necessarily affect you. Your home may be in worse shape because of your economics, not because of the color of your skin or your race or any other factor. You weren't able to keep up with the repairs because we are in a recession and the inflation is skyrocketing and has been for the last 19 months. You're spending more money paying for electricity and for gas and for food than you are for being able to take care of your roof or take care of your vehicle. It's just a matter of where you're spending the money. So when he says some Americans, he wants us to think minority as opposed to economics, because economics will remind you that the policies of the Biden-Harris administration have harmed Americans far more than anything else. But let's go on. He also says, and we've got to make sure that we're helping everybody, but he qualifies that. Because if he had said, we're trying to make sure we're helping everybody, fine. That's fine. We should help everybody who is in need. But he says, he qualifies that by saying, based on the need that is there. Okay, so fine. Let's go again to the example. 3 households. One is white, one is black, one is gay or LGBTQAI+. They self-identify as a toaster. Fantastic. So the need, if it is equal amongst those people, should be equal in what they receive. We should try to help each of them at the same time equally, because there is no difference, because they all have the same need. But he says that's fair. And if we are treating them the same, that is fair. That is equitable. No, it is not equitable. Equity does not exist at the same time as equality. They cannot. They are directly opposed. Again, equity is prioritizing a group of individuals or a type of people based on check boxes or other forms of politics where one group is given a priority against others. So you cannot be equitable and be fair. You cannot be equitable and be equal. They do not exist at the same time, and they cannot exist at the same time, because equity imposes a priority, fairness doesn't. So he's going back to what the executive order said. Equity, not fairness, not need, equity, the priority. He goes on, and that's something that I think you see built into the process right now. He's correct in that. It is built into the process. As we showed you, it is built into the process because of the executive order that says that we will prioritize, that the federal government will prioritize who they will help based on skin color, sexual preference, sexual gender, and other criteria that they have created based on their ideology, not the situation at hand, not the need. And so we are correct that Kamala Harris is being absolutely honest that this is the consequence of the progressive ideology being put before us. But they don't want you to think about that. They do not want you to think about the consequences of what they have done. Pete Buttigieg is there to protect Kamala and say, you just don't understand what she said. You just don't understand the executive order that is very clear and very explicit. You don't understand, so you have to believe him because he is gay. You have to believe her because she is a woman, presumably, and because she's a woman of color. None of those reasons are reasons why you should believe anyone. Not because of their elected office, because they didn't suddenly become smarter overnight just because of the number of votes they got, or because they were appointed into a position. That doesn't make them smarter or better. That skin color has nothing to do with whether or not you're smart. It has nothing to do with your capabilities. Neither does your sexual preference or how you self-identify. None of that has anything to do with the capabilities of the individuals, nor does it have anything to do with the policies of the United States. Now, we have to understand, Kamala Harris is behind the 8 ball to start with, because Kamala Harris has already failed the American people. Remember, Kamala Harris in March of 2021 was put in charge of the southern border, of being able to limit the number of illegal immigrants coming into the United States. And her policy, based on the progressive ideology, is an open border. Allow them to come into America as much as they want, and they have. Over 5 million illegal immigrants in the last 18 months, purely because of the policies of the Biden-Harris administration. And she has done nothing to stop them. Our border is wide open. 8,000 up to 9,000 illegal immigrants are crossing our border by the day. The only time we have seen the Biden-Harris administration get upset, the only time we've seen progressive governments do anything about the illegal immigrants is the moment they showed up at the Hamptons, the moment they showed up in Washington, D.C. in front of Kamala Harris's home. The moment that they showed up in Martha's Vineyard, then they took action to get those brown immigrants out of their communities. Not because they couldn't support them. 50 immigrants in Martha's Vineyard, where there are hundreds of homes that are wide open, where there are hundreds of hotel rooms that are available with more than enough food, with an income, net income, average income in Martha's Vineyard, 3, 4, 6 times the average of the average American citizen. They had the money and the resources to take care of those illegal aliens, and instead, in less than 2 days, they got them the hell out of there. That has been the most effective, efficient, and most important action by the Biden-Harris administration about illegal immigration. Now, why are we talking about illegal immigration when we're talking about equity? Well, you see, that illegal immigration, it's allowed because the people who are crossing our border overwhelmingly are individuals of color. And so the Biden-Harris administration, that is emphasizing people of color, part of the equity and diversity mandate that they created, are allowing them in. And those people are, in some cases, doing some of the worst things. As we see with Governor DeSantis of Florida mentioning that in Florida, after the Hurricane Ian, there has been looting that has been taking place. And 3 out of 4 of the looters that have been caught, 75%, that's an incredible number, out of 4 people who were caught looting, 75% are illegal aliens. They are individuals who do not have a right to be in the United States, that are criminals for entering the United States without permission. They do not have authorization. They do not have documentation. You want to call them undocumented. You want to call them migrants. You can call them anything you want. They are illegal aliens. And they entered Florida and they are looting. They are added to the crime of entering the United States by looting at a time when people are in desperate need, when people are in the most vulnerable of situations. Governor DeSantis says, quote, "These people that are foreigners, they're illegally in our country. But not only that, they try to loot and ransack in the aftermath of a natural disaster. They should be prosecuted, but they need to be sent back to their home country. They should not be here at all." How can we dispute that? We can't. Except we have the dispute coming from the Biden-Harris administration that says that these are people of color, and people of color must be treated differently than any other people in the United States, especially American citizens. They have a higher priority. Even during hurricane relief, even as they commit crimes against American citizens who are in desperate need. This is the problem. These are the consequences that happen when you have a policy that is meant to make you feel good and not considering the consequences, not considering how this is going to impact individuals. And we are seeing, as correctly noted by the J. Rest Break, and correctly noted on this channel as well, that even though they don't want us to think about this, we must. The Biden-Harris administration wants to win the 2022 midterm elections. And they want you to feel good, even though you have no reason to. The economy is a mess. Illegal immigration is rampant. We cannot take care of our own. But they want you to buy electric vehicles because that'll make you feel good. It'll make you feel like you're doing something about climate change, the problem which comes from China, not the United States. A problem that will not resolve your need for transportation in a natural disaster or just because we don't have the electricity as we saw in California. They want you to feel good and you can't complain. Because if you do think about these things and you do realize that there is a problem, you can't complain because Kamala Harris is a woman, presumably, and is of color. You can't complain because Pete Buttigieg is defending her and he is gay. This is insulting, folks. Look, it doesn't matter who they wheel out of the Biden-Harris administration to try and defend what Kamala Harris said. She was being honest. She told you what the consequences were, and the consequences aren't in the best interest of the average American. But if you think we misunderstood, if you think we got this wrong, we want to hear what you have to say. We look forward to hearing your comments, whatever they may be. And we hope that you will join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear what you have to say about the issues that are affecting us all here in the United States and across the world. I know you've heard it before. What difference does it? You make the difference. When you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares, and your subscription, you make the difference. From across the world, you help us to keep the lights on and the stream alive. You are making the difference to fight the woke and the crazy legislation that we see before. We at No Soundbites Allowed, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in helping us reach our goal, and your likes, your tweets, your comments, and your subscriptions to the channel. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who have donated to the channel and helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel the best that we possibly can, because you deserve no less. Thank you.